Example-preneur. Today we are doing a very important topic, which is psychogeometry. Psychogeometry is very, very important because it's a foundation of so many topics, from mensuration area, solving triangles, bearing. It's a foundation for so many topics. So the moment you're well versed with psychogeometry, you're good to go. Like 1/3 of the exam will be in your hands. Right. Before we get ahead of ourselves, what are the most important things for us to understand when we're doing psychogeometry? First of all, we need to understand circles. Just circles in general. All the circles, from the bicycles, all those circles. We need to understand their properties. What makes a circle? What makes that continuous hollow thing in front of us that I'm putting there? First of all, you can see there's a circumference. Yes, a circumference, which I'm drawing right now, which is a continuous line, and it's a circle. That's the circumference. It's important when you're doing area, knowing the circumference. Then we have a diameter. The diameter is that line that cuts the circle into half. Yes, that's the diameter. And then we have a radius. Radius, that's the half of the diameter. Like it's from the center to the circumference. The line which is from the center to the circumference. It's a diameter. And then we have what we call a chord there, which I'm showing with those red dotted lines there. It's a chord, a line that joins one point of a circumference to one point of a circumference without passing through the center, please. Without passing through the center. There, what I'm drawing over there, it looks like a pizza, which has been taken out 1/4 of it. Can you see that piece there? That's a sector. That's a sector. Right? So, before you do anything else, you need to know that those qualities, it's more like it's the language. You are being initiated sort of in psychogeometry. You need to know the basics. That's the basic of psychogeometry. So we have chords, and like I say, the chords, the lines that join circumference to circumference. So we are going to have a nice time doing psychogeometry. In the next 10 minutes, and there will be so many circles in front of you. Now, first of all, when you're doing psychogeometry, there is always a circle, and there is a point O, which is usually marked by a dotted line and a zero. There, I'm trying to draw I'm trying to show you those equal lines. This is more of a language again. Those two strokes means that those two lines, they are equal. When you're doing psychogeometry, please make sure that's very important. Now, that line is perpendicular to the chord. Can you see the chord? The line from the center is perpendicular to the chord. Right? Equal chords are equidistant from the center. Now, this is the language. Perpendicular, equidistant. Like I said, be familiar with the language before you get to the commandments of psychogeometry. I like calling them commandments of psychogeometry, because if I keep on calling them rules, laws, I think it will confuse, because there are so many of those from different topics. But when we're doing psychogeometry, just remember they are commandments, right? So, commandment number 1. Now, when we're doing this commandment, I hope you have a photographic memory. When you see a picture like this, when you see it drawn like this, as you see on the screen, the angle which an act subtends at the center right? Subtends the language. Please make sure you understand the language. The angle which an arc subtends at the center is twice that angle remaining on the part of the circumference. So point R there, it's x, and point O, that's 2x. Angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. In short, angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. So this is the first theorem, and it has to be drawn like this. Now, since mathematics is about solving problems, sometimes they will draw it in a different way, just like the way I'm drawing there. They will try to mix up everything, but the rule is still the same. The angle, that angle at the circumference, and also at that circumference. If it's x, it means the angle at the center is twice. So if that's 40, the angle at the center, that's definitely 20. So this is the first commandment. This is the first commandment. You need to remember this. Angle at the circumference is twice the angle at the center. Right? It's pretty clear. Hopefully you guys, when you see this in your exam, if you have a photographic memory, you'll be like, oh, it's commandment number 1. Now I'm going to move to commandment number 2. Right? What's commandment number 2? Commandment number 2, if you have a circle and a right angle triangle which passes through the center there, can you see? A, B, P, and O there. The angle is a semicircle, is a right angle, highlighted by the green that I'm drawing right now. So angle P there is 90 degrees, provided that it's a triangle which passes through the center. Any angle that's on the circumference is 90 degrees. So angle P is 90 degrees. No matter how they draw that question, it's just 90 degrees. This is simple. So every time you see there, if you have a photographic memory, if you don't, you need to train yourself to have it, because you are definitely going to need a photographic memory to understand psychogeometry. Because it's just a matter of looking at a drawing, at a question, and then denoting which commandment it is, 1, 2, or 3. Then you start filling in to answer the question. Right? So what's the third one? Remember, we have a chord. When I said you need to understand the language, right? A chord. So by knowing this chord, the third commandment, it is going to be necessary for you to understand chords, for you to know the third commandment. So we have chord AB, right? And what does the commandment say? Angles at the circumference, right, subtended by the same chord are equal. And in this case, if we have a chord AB, if you're looking at the screen there, AB being denoted by the dotted lines, red dotted lines, those angles P, Q, and R are the same, and they are at the circumference. They are subtended by AB. Even on the first example that we've done on this first commandment, that's called PQ, right? So on this question, if that's 75, that's 75, because they are subtended by AB. That's 75 degrees, that's 75 degrees. So this is the theorem. This is the third theorem, the third commandment. That's the language that we're using, right? Great stuff.